The emergency HOA meeting Karen had demanded backfired spectacularly. Instead of rallying support against Jessica's aquatic circus, 3 board members actually praised the Chens for bringing community spirit to the neighborhood. Worse yet, 2 other families announced they were ordering their own giant inflatables. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," Karen declared, her voice echoing through the community center's stark meeting room. "Give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. Soon we'll have water slides, diving boards, and God knows what else ruining our property values." Board President Tom Sullivan, a retired engineer with little patience for drama, adjusted his glasses. "Karen, I've lived here 12 years. Our property values have increased every year. I hardly think a few pool floats will crash the market." The humiliation burned. Karen had expected unanimous support, not this casual dismissal of her concerns. As neighbors filed out, many avoiding eye contact with her, she overheard snippets of conversation that made her stomach churn. Finally, someone making this place feel less like a museum. "My kids keep asking why they can't have fun pool toys like the Chens. Karen needs to lighten up. It's summer, for crying out loud." That night, Karen lay awake plotting her next move. If the HOA wouldn't act, she'd force their hand. She researched noise ordinances, pool safety regulations, and homeowner liability laws until her eyes burned. By morning, she had a new strategy. The anonymous complaints began immediately. Karen called the county health department about potential safety hazards in the Chen pool. She contacted the homeowner's insurance company about attractive nuisances. She even called the fire department claiming the inflatables might obstruct emergency access. Each official who visited found nothing wrong, but Jessica was growing tired of the constant interruptions. During one particularly awkward inspection, she confronted Karen directly. "I know it's you making these calls," Jessica said, her usual friendliness replaced by steel. "My daughter asked me yesterday why the mean lady doesn't want her to have fun in her own pool." Karen felt a flicker of something, guilt, but pushed it down. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm simply concerned about neighborhood standards." "Standards?" Jessica laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Your standard seems to be making everyone as miserable as you are." The words hit harder than Karen expected. That evening, she watched the Chen family through her window again, but this time she noticed something different. The elaborate pool parties had stopped. Jessica's daughter played alone more often, glancing nervously toward the Mitchell house. The joy had dimmed. Richard found Karen in their sterile living room, staring at her phone. "The lawyer called back," he said quietly. "He won't take the case. Says there's no legal basis for your complaints, and he won't waste your money. Then I'll find another lawyer." "Karen." Richard sat beside her, something he rarely did anymore. "When did you become this person?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Karen wanted to argue, to defend her position, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she thought about Jessica's daughter, a sweet kid who'd once brought them cookies, and asked if Karen had any grandchildren to play with. The next morning brought a new development that would change everything. A moving truck pulled up to the Chen house. Karen watched from behind her curtains as Jessica directed the movers, her face set in determined lines. A for sale sign appeared on the lawn by afternoon. That evening, Jessica knocked on Karen's door. When Karen opened it, she found her neighbor holding a small wrapped gift. "We're moving," Jessica said simply. "My husband got a job offer in Portland, and we've decided to take it. This neighborhood isn't what we thought it would be." Karen stared at the gift, unable to speak. "This is for you," Jessica continued. "Maybe someday you'll understand what you really want here." After Jessica left, Karen unwrapped the gift with trembling fingers. Inside was a small picture frame containing a photo she'd never seen. Taken during one of the pool parties, it showed Karen's own reflection in the Chen's sliding glass door. But in the reflection, Karen wasn't scowling or judging. She was smiling, just slightly, watching the children play. Karen set the frame on her mantel and walked to her window. The pool floats still bobbed in the evening light, but now they looked different, not like invaders, but like remnants of something she'd helped to destroy. As she watched, a new question began forming in her mind, one that would haunt her long after the Chens were gone. In her quest to preserve the neighborhood's standards, what had she actually preserved? And more importantly, what had she lost? The for sale sign swayed gently in the evening breeze, a silent witness to battles fought and won at costs too high to calculate. Karen Mitchell's coffee mug shattered against her pristine kitchen tile as she stared out her window at 7:23 a.m. Across the manicured lawns of Willowbrook Estates, her neighbor's pool had transformed overnight into what appeared to be a floating zoo. A 10-foot inflatable flamingo bobbed next to a massive pizza slice, while a unicorn the size of a small car dominated the shallow end. "Ray Charity," she shrieked, her voice cracking like a whip through their makesy mansion. Her husband stumbled down the stairs, still fumbling with his tie. "Look at this abomination. That woman has turned our respectable neighborhood into a carnival." The second shock hit when Karen marched to her mailbox and found a handwritten note tucked inside. "Dear Mrs. Mitchell, thanks for the friendly reminder about pool float regulations. I've reviewed the HOA bylaws thoroughly. Turns out there's no size limit mentioned anywhere. Enjoy the view. Also, Jessica Chen, 1247 Maple Lane." Karen's perfectly manicured fingers crumpled the note as her face flushed crimson. 3 months ago, she'd sent Jessica a stern letter about her excessive pool accessories after spotting a simple donut float during the Chen family's pool party. Now this was war. The third moment that would define Karen's summer came when she spotted Jessica lounging on the flamingo, sipping what looked suspiciously like a mimosa, and waving cheerfully in Karen's direction. The audacity was breathtaking. "That's it," Karen muttered, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "If she wants to play games with the HOA rules, I'll show her exactly what those rules can do." By noon, Karen had speed-dialed every HOA board member, scheduled an emergency meeting, and begun drafting what she privately called the Pool Float Prohibition Amendment. Her voice grew more shrill with each phone call as she described the eyesore and property value disaster floating next door. "Helen, you have to see this to believe it," she told board member Helen Rodriguez. "It's like living next to a water park. Think about our home values. Think about the precedent this sets." But Helen's response wasn't what Karen expected. "Actually, Karen, my grandkids think it looks pretty fun. Maybe we should ask Jessica where she got those floats." The betrayal stung. Karen's carefully cultivated alliance was cracking before her eyes. That evening, she stood at her bedroom window, watching the Chen family's pool party in full swing. Children squealed with delight as they climbed aboard the various inflatables. Parents chatted and laughed from poolside chairs, and the whole scene radiated the kind of joy that made Karen's chest tighten with an emotion she couldn't quite name. "They're mocking everything we've built here," she whispered to Richard, who was pointedly reading his newspaper. "Order, standards, respect for community values." Richard lowered his paper just enough to peer over it. "Karen, they're just having fun." Fun. The word tasted bitter in her mouth. "This isn't about fun, Richard. This is about respect. And if Jessica Chen thinks she can turn our neighborhood into her personal playground, she's about to learn otherwise." Karen's reflection in the window looked back at her, sharp, determined, and utterly convinced of her righteousness. Tomorrow, she would call her lawyer,